Donald Trump presidency going to hurt or help the real estate market out here in Hawaii? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you a couple different perspectives based on his policies that he said that he's going to be putting in place and how that could affect the real estate market for you as a buyer or seller. Stick around to get all the details. See you on the other side. All right, guys, in this video, we are going to discuss a somewhat touchy subject when it comes to politics. I generally never want to talk about politics or religion, but there is a twist where we could actually look at something that's very big, this new presidency that we have with Donald Trump. I'll leave it to you to decide on whether you like him or hate him. I'm going to leave my opinion out of it. All I really want to talk about is his policies that he's discussing and how I think that may affect the real estate market, not only here in Hawaii, but also nationwide. But before we get into that, let me quickly introduce myself if this is your first time here. My name is Patrick Longley. I'm a licensed real estate agent out here in Hawaii and been helping buyers, sellers, and investors with their real estate needs. If you guys have any questions about the real estate market out here in Hawaii, feel free to reach out to me. I got my contact information right here, or you can directly DM me on any of my social media platforms. With that being said, let's jump into how I believe the Donald Trump presidency might affect the real estate market. Now, big asterisk there. I am not one to say what my political beliefs are and what side of the fence I'm on. I'm generally just looking at what the policies that he says that he is going to be putting in place and how that might affect the real estate market. But I would love to hear from you guys. What do you think is going to happen? Put them in the comment section down below. Do you think some of these policies are going to ruin the real estate market? Is it going to make prices go sky high? Is it going to make the market crash? I would love to hear your insight. But with that being said, let's jump into some of his policies and dissect them and then translate them into how that affects the real estate market. Now, before we get into some of his policies, we essentially only need to really focus on two things that are strongly going to affect the real estate market. That's going to be demand, which is driven by interest rates, and supply, which is how many homes are on the market or how many homes are being built and put onto the market. Now we can take those two concepts, look at his policies, and see how they're gonna affect each one of those. The first policy that he's talking about is tariffs. Now, I don't know how I feel about these. I think they're actually a horrible idea, but we'll see what his game plan is and whether he's actually going to be putting these tariffs in place. There's discussions of tariffs as low as 10% and some as high as 100% tariffs on products coming in from China or Canada, which does a few things when it comes to the real estate market. The first thing it does is if he actually moves forward with these tariffs, it will be increasing the cost of goods for lumber, for steel, for all the things that you need to build a house, which generally is going to pass that expense onto the end consumer and or the developer. Now, if the developer or a contractor who's building a home, and usually it costs them $300,000 to build that home, but now with all these tariffs, it's costing them $400,000 to build that home, they need to make money. So they're going to increase the price of that property, which means property valuations and prices of properties would go up with these tariffs in theory. Now that is when it comes to inventory and prices. More inventory coming to the market from developers, but they're going to be coming in at a higher price. So it's almost balancing itself out. You're not getting a bunch of homes that everybody can choose from because now those prices have actually gone up. Additionally, interest rates are generally going to be controlled by the 10-year yield and the Fed, which basically they are going to increase interest rates or decrease interest rates based on inflation. And if tariffs are increasing the cost of goods, or inflating the cost of goods, we're seeing inflation go up, which means the Fed is most likely going to keep interest rates higher for longer, which means that there's less demand going out there for buyers who want to purchase a property, because not only has the price maybe gone up because of developers, but also we're seeing that less demand is coming to the table. So that might balance it out where people are gonna have to drop their price. So it's kind of a hard one to say on whether the market's gonna go up or go down, because we're gonna see less demand most likely come to the table because of interest rates most likely going to stay higher for longer because of those inflationary tariffs. But we also might see homes might get more expensive because of the cost of goods to actually build homes. The second thing we're going to go over is DOGE. This is the Department of Government Efficiency. This is the team where Elon Musk and a few others are supposedly going to be coming in and cutting expenses of governmental spending. And this is something that's extremely important because we've been in a massive deficit in the United States for a very long time. And we've been basically kicking the can down the road with our deficit and really finding ourselves potentially in bankruptcy or default, which is horrible, not only for inflation, but also for interest rates when we are in a situation where we are basically paying more money in interest to other countries for money that we borrowed than we're actually spending on our country itself. Well, hopefully if Elon Musk comes in here and actually cuts, a lot of governmental spending. For example, when he went into X, he cut 80% of the workforce and still is running pretty efficiently. If he can do something similar for us in the government and lower our deficit, that would allow the Fed and also interest rates to come down because we're not spending so much money on governmental projects and governmental departments that we don't need and could trigger us to actually lower interest rates, which would increase demand and then of course push up prices. But more importantly, make housing more affordable because interest rates come down. And the third thing that we're going to discuss is loosening restrictions. Now, Trump has discussed about loosening restrictions when it comes to building homes, whether that's utilizing certain federal lands that are not needed where they could actually build homes on them, or loosening restrictions when it comes to permitting so that we can actually build more homes at a quicker pace, which would lower the cost of goods because that's a huge factor in costs, especially for developers when they're pumping out houses. It's not just lumber, it's also the cost for permits and the time that it takes to actually get a house built for certain zoning or permitting processes. This might be something that would assist with lowering prices or at least providing more inventory at a quicker pace so that we can see more affordability for people. Because right now, one of the biggest challenges, not only interest rates, but the amount of inventory. Developers cannot build houses quick enough for people living out here in Hawaii or nationwide. And if they opened up not only restrictions for permits and getting houses built faster, but also opening up possibly federal lands that are just sitting there and not being used and allowing developers to build on that, that might open up more inventory for the rest of the market. So in a nutshell, I have no idea what's going to happen. It's really hard to say because there's certain policies that he might actually do or not do, like these tariffs. Lots of talks are saying that it's just for negotiations. He's not really going to charge 100% tariffs on China goods or 30 or 50% on lumber that's coming from Canada. It might just be a negotiating tactic. Additionally, with DOGE coming in and lowering our deficit, that may or may not work. We'll have to see. And lastly, with these restrictions on federal lands as well as permitting, that's generally more, at least with the permitting side of things, with the state. I would really hope that they would get their stuff together because that's really holding back a lot of people when they want to do renovations or build something. It can take a year just to get a permit for a deck. These are the types of things that hopefully he can control. I'm not sure how much on the state level he can actually control, but we will just have to see what happens. There's a lot of different policies that could make prices go up. There are some certain policies like the tariffs that I would see that it would actually keep interest rates higher because of an inflationary market, making the market go down. It's really difficult to see, so we will have to see how it all pans out. So with that being said, I would love to hear what you guys think is actually going to happen. Put them in the comment section down below. Do you think these policies are going to hurt or help the real estate market? Or more importantly, do you think prices are going to go up or go down because some of these policies? Would love to hear from you. And if you want to talk to me about it or just talk about real estate, feel free to reach out to me. I got my contact information right here, or you can directly DM me on any of my social media platforms. With that being said, I'm Patrick with PatrickOnlyRealty.com, powered by eXp Realty. Hope you have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you soon. Aloha.